I'm just waiting for everyone to kind of jump on. We're doing another Q&A session today. Just waiting for a few active people to pop up, and then I'm going to invite the author of The Biggest Yawn Ever on here to talk with me today. Here she is now. Hi, Jen. I'm going to add you to the co-host now. Let's see. It's connecting. Oh, I see you.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this Q&A with me today.
Of course.
Again, wanted to apologize for the miscommunication. I totally forgot about daylight savings. Arizona is such a strange state that it doesn't have it, so we just are very spoiled here. And we forget all about it.
No worries.
Okay, awesome. How's your day going so far?
Great. Busy. It's always busy. I've been
I
editing and all kinds of things.
You guys doing anything fun for the weekend, or are you just busy with work?
Work, unfortunately. I'm always working.
The struggle, but it's like gratifying work at least, right?
On the weekends, my work is good. Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. It's inspiring.
Yes. Okay, awesome. So I promise not to take up too much of your time, but as we're waiting for some more people to add on, I'm just going to do a quick little introduction just to give some people some extra time to jump in and join us. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in with us today. We're doing an author Q&A. My name is Lindsey Furr, the owner of Lindsey Lou's Studio. You probably already know, but I recently had the amazing opportunity to illustrate my first ever children's book, The Biggest Yawn Ever. And today I have a special guest here with me, the author of this adorable bedtime story, The Biggest Yawn Ever, Jennifer Azevedo. Thank you so much for joining. I'm sorry this is backwards. For some reason on my phone, the screen is flipped. I will figure it out for the next one. This is only my second Instagram live ever, so bear with me. But as we go today, I'm going to be asking Jen some pre-selected questions throughout the session. And towards the end, whenever we're done with those, we'll invite you guys to add any additional questions and comments below in the comment bar. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so one of the first questions I want to ask you, Jen, was can you tell us a little bit about how you became a children's book author and how long you've been a storyteller for?
I have been a storyteller my entire life. And my cousins used to make fun of me because I would memorize scripts from things, and every time I tell anything, it's with my hands and it's big, and so I've always been a storyteller, even since I was little. How I became a children's book author, that's kind of a funny story. I've always loved to write. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer, but it's one of those like you get lucky or you don't kind of things, and so I never really went into it. But I used to write my boys' stories when they were little about them. I would tell stories, and the publishers that published our book, I actually grew up with one of them, and they were getting ready to start this company, and she said, the book that we're getting ready to start, it's not ready. Do you have anything? I remember you used to write a lot. And I was like, I got so much stuff. So I sent them a bunch of stuff, and they emailed me back and said, Electric, that's going to be our first book. And so my first children's book became a real thing. So that's how it happened.
That's so awesome. So Electric was your first published children's book, correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that book's about?
Yeah, so I have 3 boys. I'm the mom of all boys, and my middle son, Ethan, was one of these kids that was just like rambunctious energy all over the place. It was horrifying as a mom because he would be like leaping off of furniture, and I was like, he's gonna crack his head open, and he was never like a bad kid. He just had this energy and this exuberance. And one day he was loud as all get out. One day my mom asked him, Ethan, why do you feel like you have to be so loud all the time? And he said, sometimes I just have to let my happy out. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Like so cute, so cute. And so I wrote this book about a little boy who was just happy it totally changed the way I looked at it. Right. Because as a mom, you're like, how do I reel this kid in? He's just all over the place. And then I was like, there's nothing. He's just letting his happy out,
Right.
So
he just has an outlet for it. That's
exactly.
Awesome.
So that's what Electric is about. It's about a little boy that's just like excited and happy and moving around all the time.
Oh, how cool. Yeah, boys can be a little wild. So I'm sure you had your hands full.
Yes.
And they're all grown up now, right?
Yeah, my oldest is 22. He's getting married next month. I have a
Oh.
20-year-old, and then my youngest is 14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How fun.
Yep.
They grow up so fast, don't they?
I blinked.
Yeah, I believe it. Oh my gosh. All right. So the next question is, going from Electric to the biggest yawn ever, how did you find inspiration for this story, for the biggest yawn ever?
This is actually kind of a cute story too. I was at a really good friend's house, and he has a little boy, and it was getting close to bedtime, and it was time to sort of wind down for the day. And so his little boy and I sort of curled up, and I just started making up this story. And we were both tired, and I kept yawning as I was telling the story, and then I'd make him yawn, and then I'd yawn, and then we just kept going back and forth. And so as I was telling the story, we never really finished what the story was, and I would go, I'm trying to remember the exact wording. It was like, he wanted to go to sleep, but he didn't want to go to sleep, and so we just kept telling the story over. My phone's about to. We just kept telling the story over and over and over again. And then when I finished, I looked at him, and he said, "You're a really good storyteller." He said,
that's such a good feeling.
I should write that one down. Yeah. So that's how the biggest yawn ever came to. It was just a made up bedtime story.
Just on the spot.
On the spot.
That's awesome. The best kind of ideas, I feel like, just flow through you naturally sometimes. Yeah. That's really fun. Yeah. I'm really glad that you decided to write it down and develop that story further, because obviously I'm happy I got to be a part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
I yawned so much drawing all of this. I can only imagine how tired it makes you just like writing it down over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Well, how do you select the names for your characters? Like, how did you come up with Chad, for instance?
So Chad is the name of my youngest son.
Oh.
And so that, and the little boy that I told the story to, his name was DJ. And so there's a DJ in the book. And that I really just use people that I know so that they can feel like, oh, like that's it. There's no special sauce to it. I pick people I know.
I like it. It's honest. It's relatable. And then when I was talking to the publishers, when I told them I envisioned this curly-haired little blonde boy, they're like, "Oh, that's perfect, because isn't your son also a curly-haired blonde boy?" We're just telepathically connected.
Yep.
Oh gosh, how fun. All right. And then what is your favorite page of the book? And it can be the imagery, the storylines, anything. What's your favorite?
Honestly, my favorite, because it was kind of an accident. But I love that on the last page, we give kids the options to like make up how the story ends. When I was a kid, they used to have these books called Choose Your Own Adventure. And it was like, if you choose to go this direction, flip to page, 53. If you choose this ending, flip to, and so I always thought that was such a cool idea. So I loved that the kids could go and make up however they think the story ends. What did he see in that backpack? What,
mm-hmm.
That's my favorite.
It's more interactive. It's fun. I think that the kids definitely have more fun with that. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the page that she's talking about. So towards the end of the book, it gives you the option, because as Chad is talking and telling his stories, he's getting cut off mid-yawn, and so he can't finish his story. So it's kind of up to you as the reader to decide, well, maybe this is what happened, or maybe this is what happened. Especially for the little ones, I think that's really fun for them. They get to be using their active imaginations and kind of decide for themselves. Mm-hmm. I think that's really fun.
Yeah.
All right. So what were your favorite childhood books when you were growing up, and how have these stories influenced you?
So I was kind of a tomboy, and so I loved like Huckleberry Finn. I loved the Laura Ingalls books, the Little House on the Prairie books. I've kind of always been like an outdoorsy, don't tell me what to do. I don't like being told what to do. So I loved the idea of hijacking a raft and floating down a river. And I think they've just sort of, like the stories that I read, they just kind of reflected the person that I ended up growing up to be, that sort of a little bit free spirit. My kids call me a hippie. But yeah, I think what you read as a kid, there are books that I remember reading that I hated, that were required reading. And then those books that you read that you love, they just always stick with you. To Kill a Mockingbird. Oh, Still one of my
So good.
favorite. Yeah, like, but I gotta say, probably my all-time favorite children's book, and it's probably everybody's, but it's gonna be Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh, such a good one.
And I read it to my boys too, so it's good memories for me as a kid and as a mom. It's my favorite.
That's awesome. And it's nice that you can pass down these stories for
Yeah,
generations too and share the love you have for them with other people that you care about too.
yeah, for
And so
sure.
you live in Utah now and you're originally from California,
Yeah,
right?
I grew up just outside of Los Angeles. I was born in the Valley. I was a Valley girl. Um, but yeah, so I grew up close to the beach, but now I live like at the base. I can actually see them out my window right now. I live at the base of the Wasatch Mountains, so
Oh, cool.
it's beautiful. Yeah.
I just thought that was fun because we're both like in the desert now. I'm originally from California too. I was born in Costa Mesa. I don't know if
Oh,
you're familiar with that
yes,
area. Yeah, I moved out
absolutely.
here like 18 years ago, and so I've been a desert rat ever since.
Yep. The
Definitely
desert.
different, but I love it at the same time. So
You just gotta love everywhere you go. Just
yeah, there's
decide to
something
like
good to
it.
find anywhere you go for sure. And so now that you're out in Utah, you're working full time. And what other hobbies would you say that you have, or
Oh,
passions that you say that you have besides just writing and reading?
so many. I have so many. I have a YouTube channel that, I'm always editing projects and stuff for. I am a mindset mentor. So I went through some hard things in my life that I wasn't prepared for, and it really kind of shifted the way that I think. And so I learned to think better. And sorry, there goes my phone again. And so I learned to coach other people on how to quiet their minds and just live a better life, not be so harried, and turn off your news is my that's
Yeah,
gonna be my
especially
thing
right
today.
now. It can
Turn
be
off
very
the news.
That's really cool. So those are the type of videos that you share on your YouTube page then about mindfulness and such, or?
Actually, no. I grew
Oh,
up. I'm cooking my way through a cookbook, so that's one thing. I have cooking videos, and I grew up in this family that had a TV show back in the '60s and '70s. It was called the King Family Show, and they were all singers. And so I throw up vintage clips of that, and
how cool.
yeah, it's a mishmash of everything.
That's really fun though. It sounds like you have your toes dipped in a lot of different like
So
water.
many irons in the fire, it's not even funny. So like I
Well,
haven't even mentioned half of the yeah.
yeah. No,
Two,
that's good. You have to have multiple hobbies. You can't just dive into just one thing. I feel like the same way with artwork. I like to draw, I like to paint, I like to stitch. I can't just do one thing. I get bored. So I
yeah.
totally understand.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Just a couple more of these pre-selected questions for you, Jen. Thank you for bearing with me.
Sure.
Have you been working on any other projects lately? And if so, is there any way you could tell us a little bit about them?
Oh,
As far
so
as
I
writing.
have another book that I have like I have the idea for. This one's trickier though because it's not a little kid's book, and so I
Oh,
have to sort of I mean these ones have just sort of come to me, This one is about how we're all connected. Um, we're not all just separate beings. We are all connected on this earth, and we all impact each other. And there is a forest called the Pando that it looks like it's this huge forest of different trees, but really they found out that it is one tree all connected to a root system. And so I'm working on a book about that, but
so
it's
what would you say the age range is for that? Is that more of an adult story?
definitely not 5 to 6. I'm going to say it's an early, yeah, like 5 to 8. It's probably an early reader. Like maybe after that, it'll be, a little bit more advanced, but not much more advanced, like
Okay.
8 to 12.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how that one turns out.
Me
I'm
too.
definitely continuing to follow along with your progress. I'm following you on Instagram, and I suggest everyone else does it as well. I'll make sure to tag you in the next post so that way they can follow you. And then lastly, do you have any advice for aspiring authors that might be viewing us today?
This is funny because so many people have asked me now. They're like, how did you finally do it? How did you break through? And I told you my story at the beginning. I'm like, it was an accident. But I have always wanted to be a writer, and I just kept writing stuff, even though it wasn't like this is going to be published. I just wrote because I loved it. And I think with, I'm going to bring in my mindset training here. As long as you really, truly believe in something and you really love it and you have it in your mind that you're going to do it, it's going to work out eventually. It will. I mean, this Electric, the book that I wrote, I wrote it. My son is 20, the kid that I wrote it about. I wrote it 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so you just never know. You never know how things are going to work out. And so just have faith.
I love that. I know it's kind of a cliche question, but I just wanted to ask because sometimes you're right. Things just have to pan out the way that they're supposed to. You can't always control the outcome, but as long as you're passionate, I think that's a really great answer.
Yeah. Love what you do. It'll work out.
100%. Awesome. Okay. Well, that's the last of my pre-selected questions. Thank you so much for sharing with us today, Jen. I really appreciate your time again. But before we finish up, for sure, I'm going to invite the viewers now to leave any last minute questions or comments they might have for you below. So I'll read them to you as we get them, and then you can answer, and then we'll wrap up after that's all done. But I did see one question from, oh, look, it's Carrie. And she wants to know, Jen, are you planning on writing a story that involves all three of your boys?
I so should, because the adventures, like, it's a miracle. I look at boys and I'm like, it's a miracle that they turn into men, like that they survive childhood, because they're so adventurous. And yeah, I should write one with all of them, because there's a little bit of all of them in all, there really is a little bit of all of them in all the stories. Yeah, I will absolutely.
Super fun. I think that'd be interesting to see how you portray all of them at once on a page together too.
Well,
having like all their different personalities.
They're so different. Yeah,
really?
They're so different. But yeah, that would be a fun story to tell.
I don't know if you can see the comments too, Jen, but Carrie says, get on that.
The adventures of boys.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm sure it'd be nice and messy. The adventures of boys. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining. I see a couple of people have joined a little last minute. We're just doing a few last minute questions for Jen, the author of The Biggest Yawn Ever. So if you have any, leave those now before we wrap up. We'll give you just another minute. I did have one other question for you that I just thought of in my brain. What was it like for you having to communicate mostly just digitally while we worked through this process? Since, I'm in Arizona, you're in Utah, I thought it was kind of funny that we would communicate mostly just through email or phone or text. And I wanted to see what you thought about that.
In this day and age, it's just sort of, I'm used to it. I'm working from home. Everything that I do for work is through Zoom, or Skype, and it's just kind of the way things are. So it didn't bother me at all, other than sometimes you can't get like what someone's trying to, like, we had a phone call, and I was like, I told you the story about, I remember when I was little peering over the counter in a store as my parents were paying for groceries and just being like, one of these days I'll be able to see over that counter. And so that was kind of fun to be able to have the voice interaction instead of just like, hey, how about this, texting.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I still think that that's way better when you're trying to convey emotion and things like that. I kind of think that text has ruined relationships.
Things definitely get lost in translation over text, so I agree. Phone calls and the video chats that we have access to now is also very helpful. So I'm glad that we were able to do this today. And thanks for humoring me again. Like I said, this is only my second time going live, so I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. Hopefully I can figure out a way to do it so I'm not backwards next time. But
let me see if mine works.
I have to download. Yeah, you're backwards too. Some like outside app or something like that in order to do it on your desktop, because normal Instagram you can't do it on your desktop, I guess. So we'll just have to experiment and see how that goes. But
it's all good.
All right. All right. Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions for today. We're about 20 minutes in, so that's kind of what we were planning on doing anyway. So again, it's been a real pleasure working with you and Lolly Publishing throughout this entire process. I'm so incredibly thankful for the opportunity and for you trusting me to bring the imagery from your story to life. I can't wait to see the other stories that you're going to release in the future, and I'll make sure to touch base with you again just to see how you're doing. But thanks for letting me pick your brain. And if you have any questions or you ever want to do a live, let me know. I'd love to chat with you some more in the future.
Cool. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You have a wonderful rest of your Saturday and an excellent weekend, Jen. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Yeah. All right, guys, that wraps it up. I just said bye to Jen, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend as well. I'm gonna sign off with Chad saying goodbye again. Say bye-bye, Chad. Bye.